Hello and welcome to Locked in FPL. We're back for the Gameweek 5 preview. I am joined by two special guests today, unlike normal. So we have our good friend PJ, aka HinduMonkey on X, and we have BobbyLove FPL on X. And I am, of course, FPL Nima. Today we're going to go through both these managers and how they got into FPL, their favorite memories or worst memories if they have one. See how the season's begun for them and plans going into Game Week 5 before they lock in their teams, as the show's name kind of says. If you have any questions, please start putting them in the chat from now. We will star them and answer them all in the live Q&A. As always, we will timestamp the segments, and we have lots of fun to get through today. So without further ado, we'll get started straight away. I'll just bring in PJ first. Good to see you, buddy. How you doing?
Thanks, mate. Lovely holding music you had there. You know, it was like queuing for the dentist.
I need to get a real audio file. I think that's the default countdown timer.
Just anything that doesn't make you feel like you're going for a massage, mate. Just, you know, get some hip hop there or something. Yeah, awful. Anyway, here now. Delighted to be part of this, and yeah. Obviously,
delighted. Okay, well, we'll see what your messages to me say. I don't know if delighted is the right word, but I've taken a few screenshots to share with the viewers. So Bobby as well, welcome to the channel, my fellow Gooner. I'm hoping to get some Arsenal input from you and some Man United input from PJ tonight. But yeah, welcome, Bobby. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad, thank you. I'll be a bit nicer than PJ. It's good to be on.
Is that a Birmingham accent? There, Bobby.
That's Newcastle, PJ.
Bloody hell.
We settled this out at Fest, didn't we?
Oh, he's a Brummie over there. We have a Brummie Geordie with us who supports Arsenal. So make of that what you will, viewers. But he does know what he's talking about. And out of the three of us, it turns out he's having the better start to the season by a distance. So we'll get into that, though. Before that, I want to go into your play style, PJ, for like maybe 5 minutes or so. I do the same with Bobby. I'd love to know like how long you've been playing, if you remember. I know maybe you were like pre-Telegraph post days. I don't know, like compared to me.
I was a pen and paper wanker. Yeah,
like Randy then. Okay, so with his notebook. Yeah.
No, not now. I've moved on from analog, unlike our good friend Randy Shafter, who still uses a notebook to play FPL. But no, I've played it since, you know, I can remember, since I remember being, you know, a teenager at school and playing like the paper versions in like the Sun or the Telegraph sort of stuff, right up to Fantasy Football Show, and then obviously the Fantasy Premier League game, which I don't think I've played every season of. I think I missed the first 2 years before I discovered it. There are people with longer histories than me, but yeah, I've always played it, and yeah, so I've just something that's become part of my experience of watching football. Although since obviously becoming part of a kind of Twitter community and that, I've certainly, you know, I didn't used to take it as seriously as I probably do now, and certainly have done for the last 4 or 5 years. So
in terms of a favorite memory, I guess, like, is there like a certain like triple captaincy or like double game week bench boost or something differential even that paid off for you that you remember? As
no, I hate the chips. So there's nothing positive about that whatsoever. I was a much better fantasy football player before the invention of, you know, chips, where you used to be able to have to plan, you know, fixture schedules and stuff before Ben Crellin just told everyone what to do, which was nice of him. Yeah, in terms of favorite memory, it is always going to be forever the Ashley Barnes train. I don't want to spend too long on this for fear of mentioning my recent train, which hasn't been as successful. But the initial Ashley Barnes train, which, you know, at the time I was quite new to kind of FPL Twitter, and it was like that was like my kind of calling card in terms of, you know, loads of people just follow. I think I got like 3,000 or 4,000 followers. It just went absolutely mad because I was like a lone canary in the coal mine talking about a forward from Burnley to start the season with, and people were just like laughing and stuff. And I obviously wrote the, you know, kind of Big Fred, which I do now, you know, in most weeks, obviously. And yeah, that was fantastic for that to kind of come off when I really kind of stuck my neck out as a kind of small account and do so in such a way that really propelled me really high kind of into the kind of Twitter, you know, kind of community was always really, really special. So I'm forever thankful for Ashley Barnes. He's from Bath, like myself as well. I grew up playing cricket with him.
I forgot you were from Bath. Oh,
Yeah,
no way.
so
Oh, you played cricket with
I
him.
played
Wow.
cricket with Ashley Barnes. Yeah, so really, really strange kind of series of coincidences, and so that's definitely my best memory.
Maybe you should stop
not
picking your champions based on people who you know or have kind of crossed paths with. Maybe picking Brazilian players isn't quite for you, as this season has shown.
No, Muniz has not been successful. It's the first complete blank I've ever had from a train. I've not had, some have been more successful than others. Ben Rama was really successful. Solanke and Adams, even Joel Linton got a fucking assist. But to have 3 blanks from multiple missed chances and then be dropped, and then he couldn't even score in the League Cup last night. It just honestly
Got subbed off right before the
subbed
penalty.
off before the penalty, so he didn't have to take a penalty.
Oh,
Just
God.
disastrous. He's always been a freaky player. He looks shot.
He's in my team as well, and you actually
Yeah.
offered him in a trade with me in
Yeah,
Fantrax, and I
Fantrax,
didn't
yeah.
take it, and I regret it so much now because I don't think you would ever take the trade now, would you?
Oh God, no. He's a dead asset at this point. I'm sure we'll come on to transfers in terms of
we'll talk about FPL.
terms of
That
what we
part's
do
less
that.
important.
But no, horrible.
Okay, so that's your best memory. I was gonna say worst memory, but that's probably not worth it because I think the Muniz pick in itself as a train has kind of probably caused you an unfounded amount of abuse online.
No, mate. I mean, you're talking to a guy who once, publicly captained Ross Barkley and he got injured after 7 minutes. So that was definitely my worst moment. It sent me into a dark chapter of my life that I won't talk about here. But yeah, so that was my worst memory. But you mentioned playstyles at the top. I like punts. I have become a little bit more templatey probably since I've kind of become part of FPL Twitter, just because once you start entering leagues with, Ben Krellin and FPL Rockstar and stuff, if you just my team previously was like made up of like a lot more banter picks, which I because I was in mates cash leagues and sort of stuff, and so we wouldn't pick like Liverpool players or Man United players or stuff. I went through the whole Jose Mourinho era of Chelsea, refusing to pick any Chelsea players, for example, and so I've become like more pragmatic. But I do like to have that like 1 or 2 like little punts, every week. Morgan Gibbs White is obviously someone who I've liked kind of recently, and then usually a cheap forward that's a bit against the grain. So because I do I find if those players come off, that feels so much better to me than like getting a hat trick from Haaland or something. I mean, it's lovely to see Andy Martin crying into his porridge, but that's about the only positive from captaining. Haaland.
That's the only positive for you. I see.
Well,
he's actually in the chat. So just a quick couple shout outs. So Dave said he was here for the buffering, and he arrived nearly 5 hours before the show. I think it was
Dave
a
has
comment about
aggressively
your
questioned
internet.
my internet connection today. So it's a slur upon Sheffield. I dread to think what he thinks about you up in Newcastle, Bobby. He doesn't think us Neanderthalic Northerners have workable internet.
He really doesn't appreciate you guys, Bobby, based on what he was saying earlier. He thinks you live in the Shire. Although let's not get into Hobbit jokes because I'm setting up PJ2C.
Don't. He'll run with it, won't he?
No, I'm sure we'll come to Bobby soon. You'll have to just make the screen bigger so he doesn't look quite so small. So why are you so low down? And that's your full height. Sorry,
that's all right. My mic's on eye level. You keep yours below you. We'll keep the short jokes for yourself.
Yeah. Okay, so Andy Martin as well, second in the chat. Oh, hi guys. I'm sat here with chicken thighs and vegetable in front of me. So I guess he's not got the porridge now. He's upgraded to chicken thighs. I like
Is he
that.
talking about? Are we sure he's talking about his food, not his own body there?
I'll let Andy come on as a guest to answer that one next time, whenever he's ready. So Claire, evening all. Gareth Pashley, evening folks. We have Carl, evening. FPL Sparta, all right, all. David Harrison, evening, guys. Getty FPL, good evening, all. And then just a couple more comments. Dave says your internet looks fast. So, he's happy about that one. And he also says incorrect. Barkley was injured after 4 minutes.
Sorry.
Let me see one more comment and then we'll do this. So, Colin Boogler as well. Even I'm getting rid of Muniz this game week, PJ, for either Nketiah or Durant. Now, Colm is a big Fulham fan. So me as a Muniz holder, hearing that from him as well, like I think that's truly the end.
I discussed Colm was who I chatted to about my preseason thread on Muniz. He contributed to it, thanks for nothing, mate. Yeah.
You know, Andy Martin's I tune in for 2 minutes and PJ is happy for my failure. It's a bit harsh, isn't it, mate?
He could have come in at any point. Yeah.
Cool. All right. So what we'll do is I'll kind of start starring your questions and comments. I'll put them up on the screen, guys, as we go. Before I look at your team and how you've got on, PJ, I just want to quickly also go to Bobby and just ask him about how long he's been playing FPL. Similar question, like your play style. Is it, template, Maverick, differential? What your favorite memory is, maybe a worst memory from you as well. And then we'll go into both of your scores in Game Week 4 and we'll start to get towards Game Week 5 from there.
Yeah, so I started playing FPL back in school. I'm quite a bit younger than PJ, so it was done on computers when I first started. So I've got a bit of history going back to 05, 06, I think.
Did you have hair back then? Or?
I did, yeah, I did. I think I still had a mushroom cut at that point, but it's quickly gone. And then as I got older, I discovered alcohol and stopped playing for a number of years. And then me and a few friends decided to start playing fantasy football for cash. But at that point, we just played the Sun Dream Team. But we quickly realised, fuck the Sun, so moved back to FPL, and I wasn't that great at it. So I had to try and find some sort of leg up, and stumbled on the FPL community and managed to get quite a bit better. Following.
Where's the name come from? Because a lot of people don't believe, obviously, that that's your name. And it sounds very much like a porn star name, if I may.
It's just my name. No one believes it's my actual birth name.
Your name is actually BobbyLove.
Love. I've got my passport next to us. Do you want some proof?
Wait, don't dox yourself, but yeah.
No, yeah.
Don't put Okay, well, podcast listeners, it's been verified through passport. I've never thought I'd see a passport ID verification on air, but it's a first for the channel.
Everyone questions, do you actually love FPL? No, I fucking hate it, but this is just my name, and that's all I've put for my Twitter handle.
Because I thought it's like Bobby loves FPL. So when I first met you, I just thought that's what it stood for. That you
it's my name, so don't search us on socials except for Twitter, please.
I'll make sure, guys, there's also links to obviously both our guests' profiles in the podcast and video. So please do drop them a follow. I think we're going to try push PJ to 30K followers. His next milestone, I know he wasn't happy to get followers. He's always tried to say what he can to them to lose them along the way.
They're just a menace. They're just a menace,
I think Andy would agree
about them. Yeah, Andy would definitely agree, and he's got twice as many as I've got, if not more now.
I mean, nice. Go on, Bobby. Tell us a few last bits just about your favorite memory and how you play.
So, favorite play style. So, I probably say I'm a very safe player. So, start of the season, I always try and look who's the two most expensive players, bring them in, and then just try and build out from there. So, I do have Haaland and Salah on my team to start the season. Two biggest scorers, may as well try and get as many points as possible. And then from there, just trying to find the players that provide value at cheaper prices. So I started the season with Smith Rowe and Rodgers, and everyone seemed to jump on after that. So I managed to get some price rises. So it's kind of paid off being a very safe player. Favorite memory is actually not something good that happened for my team, but there was a season 2 or 3 years back where everyone triple captained Mane. I had wasted my triple captain quite early, and in my cash league, everyone was triple captain Mane, and I needed it to fail so I could win the cash at the end of the season because it was quite close, and obviously went off after 2 minutes, triple 1 point, and fell in my favor. Worst memory is, for anyone that doesn't know, me, Nima, and PJ are all in a draft league together, and last season I was 4 points off my work league going into the last game week. We had an account come into our chat.
Do we need to mention this publicly?
Was this the team?
I always thought this was a joke. This actually happened.
No, this has genuinely happened.
Oh my god, I feel really bad.
A certain religious primate came into the chat saying, I've got a team league for you guys. Isaac's not playing. He hasn't travelled with the squad. So I thought, shit, I'm going to have to do something different to win my work league, and transferred Isaac out. I brought in Cody Gakpo thinking, Klopp's last game, you'll do something. Gakpo did nothing. Isaac played and scored twice, didn't he? And didn't win the work league. So I do blame PJ for that. So there's still a lot of vitriol behind it.
Just one thing I want to clarify, guys, for anyone listening. When we're talking about these cash leagues, these were obviously at the beginning era of FPL. And, back then they hadn't re-updated their rules to reiterate so heavily that they were so against them. I think most people threw a quick fiver in with some work mini league or friends mini leagues, and it was quite common. I would not suggest you send your money to randomers on the internet because you probably will never see that again.
No, just keep it between like 2 teams as well. That was common. We would have like zombie leagues. I mean, Tom, who got the assist, used to run a zombie league and stuff. It wasn't like, it was in the small print, but like it was quite common for people to have a second team who they would, do maybe a set certain amount of rules with and stuff. Whereas now, people, big accounts on Twitter have, their team suspended because they have, they're having a kind of second team in that manner. So that was another thing which used to be part and parcel of the game, and now is heavily frowned upon. Also the game doesn't have 10 million players, so it's pretty obvious that some people are creating weekly teams. Still.
Even last season, right? There was like certain people.
That,
Yeah, like there was certain people last season, I think, where you'd see like the person with his name 50 times and they like were the top 50 in their country league. And you're like, surely it's obvious that this is the same person. It's the fucking same person with the same team 50 times with their name in it.
They give him team of the week. There was one where they gave like a guy who had like 25 teams, like a public shout out for winning the weekly team. And he took like a -24 or something. I was like, come on, guys.
How do you have the time to make that many email addresses, never mind many teams?
It is pretty nuts. I want to go into your teams, guys, and just see how your season's going so far. Before that, there is one thing. So just a couple of comments I wanted to pull out just to show that so far, I think everyone who's listened to you, PJ, can see you're a lovable man. But I know that I just wanted to kind of reassure people that your persona and the way you tweet about certain assets, especially your shithousery thread of the week, it's not just something you do on public tweets. Like that is just how you talk, even in DMs. So I just thought I'd bring this up to show people that like it's just you, but like really you're a really lovely guy. I'm sure they can tell from the last 20 minutes of this episode. So the first ever time PJ DM'd me back in August 2021, he happened to be in London from Sheffield. And he was like, I'll be at the British Museum at 3 p.m. if you're still around and fancy being insulted to your face. So that's for the podcast viewers. That was the first ever DM. We used to be in a group chat for like a draft league. And the first one was like, are you here? I'm going to insult you to your face. I was like, that would be epic. Sorry, I can't make it and all that. And he was like, whatever, fuck face. So that was the end of our first interaction privately.
Friendly fire.
Then I asked him when I kind of pivoted from Net That Hall to Locked In FPL, like I'm looking to do weekly rotating guests and I'd love to have you on. This one was quite funny, actually. So he was like, I'm a fucking brilliant guest, therefore I accept.
That was about 4 years ago, and it's taken you this long to get me
I remember when I remember when Nick came on Trigger Lips, and you were like, you've got Trigger Lips on before me, how dare you?
Yeah, again, that was about 4 years ago. And now you've had him on before, literally last week, as if just to rub it in.
I think it was almost deliberate, right? And the final one, and this is a really good one. So obviously you messaged me about that you dropped me a trade in fan tracks, and I said, sorry, man, like because of like the crap that Peter, who FPL team was on the show a few weeks ago, and Tony, who obviously we know is a professional leaker these days with his Patreon, the kind of trash they're sending, which has led to trading bans, because they're sending like Estupinan and Matty Cash for fucking Rodri and Odegaard. Like, don't know what world they're in, but I was like, look, I'm just going to keep my team. I'm not doing trades. And again, you were like, whatever, twat. Are we still on for next Wednesday's pod? So I put a few of these screenshots because I thought it was just, it was really hilarious the way we interact. And maybe on the podcast, people don't know. Like, obviously, you've insulted Bobby about 4 times already. I just want people to know that's normal and it's all just friendly banter.
Speaking of Estupinan, I don't own him anymore, PJ.
I just seen a fan tracks trade go through on my mobile phone. Sean and Bobby have confirmed the trade 13 minutes ago, PJ. Oh my God.
I'll look at that later. We're not here to
you don't want to get your blood, but oh my Lord. He's given.
I'm playing PJ this Sunday as well.
Oh wow. In the head-to-head, yeah. Cool. Let's go to PJ's team though. So okay, we'll timestamp this one 19 minutes in. So anyone who's listening on podcast, you've probably jumped straight to here to actually get to the FPL content. But yeah, so you got 60 points, pretty good. Green arrow to 2.3 million.
Before that, really. Just a shower of shit that has been propped up by Erling Haaland captaincy. Obviously Gabriel was a real win this week. Saved me from another huge kind of red arrow. But to be fair, my defence have actually been all right this season. I've got returns every week from my defenders. Henderson's been a fucking car crash in goal. Just not worked whatsoever. And then just my attackers have just been really terrible. I only got Salah this week. I swapped Son and Isaac for Salah and João Pedro, which amazingly somehow I actually managed to profit from because Morgan Gibbs-White came off my bench. So those 5 points were still 2 points more than what Son and Isaac managed between them, which was incredible. So I actually got a positive from that transfer, and obviously hopefully a little bit better set up. But yeah, Bruno Fernandes, he shithoused an assist this week, but has obviously done nothing. Rodgers, nothing. Muniz, nothing. Isaac hadn't really done anything. Still hasn't really done anything. So yeah, it's been a real slog. But
Gabriel's really carried that team, this week.
Yeah, Erling Haaland is obviously it's bunched though. The thing I can't recall a season where it's this bunched. Normally, if you look at the mini leagues, particularly those Twitter mini leagues, you see somebody up there 100 points ahead of you already, having hit everyone. But if you look at Rocky's league, which is always a good barometer because it's got 80 or so of the main FPL accounts in there. There's only 40 points separating 70 of the teams in there. It's quite tight. So I'm not worried about anyone who looks at rank pre-game week 10, I'd say is a bit of a mid-game week wanker. I think I look at how far away I am from the top 100k, and I think it's only 30 or 40 points or so. So I'm happy enough with that. But some of my players do need to start fucking returning soon. They really do.
How many free transfers do you have going into?
I've just got one. I've just got one free transfer because I used them both this week.
So you're in a similar boat to me, where if you kind of need João Pedro to play so you can bench Muniz, and if João Pedro is out, would you do a transfer to get?
Yeah, I think I probably would because I think I'm probably set given the state of my team on wildcarding in week 6, whatever. So I don't mind. I'd rather just roll that transfer through. Yeah, like I say, play João Pedro. But if not, yeah, it's Muniz out, and then take your pick. Someone mentioned Duran, and he's certainly someone who I fancy. It's just, is he really going to play 30 minutes? But 30 minutes of Duran is a lot better than 90 minutes of fucking Muniz. So, yeah.
We've got to that stage where I was speaking to a Fulham fan about will Muniz start, and he was just no, basically. So and that was before yesterday.
No.
He was like, Muniz plays when he scores, and I was like, okay. And he goes, well, and he's not scored. And I was like, and what about Jimenez starting? And he goes, well, he doesn't just score, he also does everything else. He holds up play, he brings everyone into the game. He was like, Muniz just scores, and he's not even doing that right now. So he's lost that spot, it sounds like, for now.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
In terms of just what you were saying about the points being bunched up, and then we'll go to Bobby's team as well. Yeah, I think I tend to agree. Here right now, right, you're at 2.3 million, but you're only 26 points away from top 500k. You're only 40 points away from top 100k. It's all very much in distance, and probably people above you, many of them will have used chips, whether it's triple captain in game week 2, bench boost in game week 1. Some percentage of people will have used chips, right? So inevitably the ranks aren't that true. And I think, waiting till game week 10 to even assess it is probably the right idea.
Completely. But I don't.
On your chip strategy, are you set then, do you think, based on
I think I am. Because the fixture swing is just so big, and I've got such a crap bench. I've got Muniz, Hall, and Johnson, who I have to move on, and probably Henderson as well. And then that's before you get to Gibbs-White and the 2 Brighton players I've got. There's such a fixture swing that it's not a matter of, even if I were to smash 100 points in game week 5, and you think, I could probably ride it out for another week. There's no upside to that really, because the fixtures turn so badly for a lot of my teams. So I want to capitalize on that. Arsenal run. I want to capitalize on that Chelsea run. So I do want to move some of those. So I think I am committed to the extent where I'm pretty confident I will be wildcarding 1 minute after the game opens on Saturday morning. short
to
of time.
just catch any prices you
just
can, right?
Catch all those Saturday price rises. So, and yeah, I can get through this week and still, if I could just get a small green arrow, maybe get to 1.9 million, psychologically get under the 2 million barrier, I'd be very happy with that, and just wildcard from there, really. So
when we go to the Q&A, I'll ask you about who you're considering. I know for the kind of potential Muni sell if João Pedro wasn't fit, but I'm sure that will come up in the questions. So we'll kind of keep starring the questions you guys have sent in as well. Bobby, you're obviously doing better than all of us on this podcast today. You're already sitting at 400k live rank despite taking a -4 last week. Firstly, I'd like to know what the -4 was.
So I've had because I had to bring in quite a few cheap players to accommodate Saka, Salah, and Haaland. I started the season with well, it doesn't matter. I basically ended up bringing in Bailey for a replacement for one of my midfielders, and then Bailey got injured straight away. So I took a -4 to sell Bailey for Ramsey, and I upgraded Mikalenko to Konate, and I just thought it's just making the team better on a whole. And I had no Liverpool defensive cover when everyone was going for Robertson and Trent as well. So I thought at least I can try and absorb some of those points if everyone else has double Liverpool on the wild card. Yeah, so it's all my transfers so far have been very reactive to price drops rather than any sort of price gains or any.
It's a very interesting team, by the way.
Still got Barker on there. It's such a casuals team. Let's be honest about it, Nima. Let's call it what it is.
I'm looking at it, and I'm like, what is going on?
At this stage of the season, let the casuals have their day. We know that the cream will rise to the top. And
Bobby's already started his red arrows, right? So this was a 200k red arrow. It's already begun this decline.
His description right at the start of what's your playing style? Buy the most expensive players and work from there. Come on.
That's 1.7 million places above yours, so working so far.
No, I relate with his play style there, but he's obviously only 1 point from top 500k, unlike your 24 points. I'm probably like
don't rub it in. How are you doing?
Terribly. I'll tell you how far. I'll tell you how far I am.
What's your rank?
Like 3 million or something.
Oh,
I think it's just under 3 million. So psychologically, like your 1.9 thing, I'm 2.8 million. So for me, my rank is the same as yours at 2 million.
That's probably about 2 points behind me.
So what we're saying is the further north you get, the better you are at FPL. That's what I'm getting from this.
It seems like it because I'm in London, he's in Sheffield, and you're in Newcastle, and everywhere we go, the rank improves. And Ben Krellin's obviously, he must be like in a different.
He's only like 20 minutes away from me. Yeah, so
he's not had a great start to the season though, Ben. He's only a few points ahead of me.
So I am I'm 31 points from the top 500k, and Poppy's only 1 point from it. So I think you're probably 6 points ahead of me, PJ. I'm looking at. Yeah, I think you're 6 points ahead of me.
So I'm as close to the top 50k as PJ is to the top 500.
Yeah, basically.
So far.
Just for your podcast listeners, I just want to read out this team because so obviously they can't see it. So you got Haaland captain, you have Salah in this team, you have Isaac still, you have Saka, you have Smith Rowe, Rodgers and Ramsey auto sub for João Pedro, Porro, Lewis, Konate, and Flecken. So definitely
have you got rotating keepers there as well?
No, that's just Flecken and his back up. So
I thought that was the bugger.
Yeah.
I can't quite read. Yeah.
No,
it's averaged 4 points a game week so far, so it's actually for 4.5. It's.
Look, I mean, I own Henderson. I can't talk.
Yeah, we can't. We're Henderson owners, me and PJ. Like, it couldn't have been a worse pick as a goalkeeper to start the season. Why don't we look at? So, I want to know if you guys feel like you've learned anything in the first 3 to 4 weeks. There was this graphic I had last time from Radar FPL, and it was the game week 1 to 3 expected points they'd put on the screen. But since then, they've actually created another one just for the game week 4 expected points as well. I guess just looking at this, is there anything from game week 4 that it like helps you remember? And if you're on podcast, do come to the 29-minute timestamp and you can have a look at this properly. But is there anything there that you weren't expecting? So like Mateta's got the highest points.
I'm Grass FC, mate. So you'll have to explain to me what on earth this is. We've just had game week 4.
So it's the expected points, because the points you get aren't the actual expected points. Like you could have been expected 1 point and get 5.
Yeah, thanks. I know that. So you're looking retrospectively at what the points people were expected last
based
week.
on like the expected goals, so like if someone with like let's say when what's his name, when Madueke got the hat trick, he would have been expected half a goal. So his points would have been like 4 points, but he got 20 expected points. But sorry, he got 20 points total, but his expected points would have been like 5.
Yeah, Traore is a surprise. So I was hoping that Nelson would break into that team and take his spot. So
yeah, he started the season electric. I think that was probably the plan, but I think Silva's quite a patient manager in terms of if players are performing, and Traore has been performing in a way that Muniz hasn't. Obviously, Archer is a slightly comedy one there as a Man United fan. Absolutely terrible.
But that's just purely because the XG of the penalty is so high, right? That he took and missed.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, look at the rest of that Southampton team just fade into the
There's not even a name after him.
yeah.
No. Honestly, if you're not watching and you're on podcast, it is worth just looking at these graphics because it kind of just shows you, like, I guess, from each team, like visually how many points they were expected to get. So like here, let's see. The best example is Mateta was expected to get nearly 12 points. So his makes sense. Whereas someone else like Archer, he should have really got the 7 or 8 points by converting that penalty. So that's kind of Calvert-Lewin's up here. He's on 6. Vardy's up there on about 4. So what that tells me is that I think Vardy's had something like 4 shots and 2 goals, is it? Or something along those lines. So, it's just like, do you prefer that kind of thing, or do you want someone like Calvert-Lewin where he's maybe expected more points? And this is one game week sample, so I'm not going to stick to this. We're going to go into the game week 5 conversation. It's just a thought-provoking conversation. The other thing is game week 1 to 3, the expected goal involvement. So this is slightly different. In here, Bruno was up there, Garnacho's up there. My question for you then, just kind of talking about Man United, is Garnacho obviously did great yesterday against Barnsley as well. Is like, what is happening tactically, PJ? Like, do you see a world in which Garnacho starts? Because I thought he'd be the best 6.5 million if he does start, but it doesn't seem to be that he's starting in the league.
No, well, he obviously Ahmad had a full pre-season and it started really well. I think it does depend a little bit on the fixture. Ahmad is a lot more of a controlled pick, so I think when we need to control the ball and keep possession more, he's going to be favoured over Garnacho, who is a much more explosive, counter-attacking kind of player. So who we got away at Palace? I think Garnacho will be back on the bench, personally, if I had to predict, because Rashford would definitely start. He's been very open about wanting to play Rashford into form, and it looks like finally that corner may have been turned. And then Ahmad was rested entirely midweek, was our best attacker against Southampton, so he'll play. So then it's either Xerxes or Garnacho. He could play Garnacho and put Rashford as the 9 again, as he did last night, or play Xerxes there. Xerxes been unlucky. You could see on his previous graph, I noticed that he was our top expected point scorer there. He's been very unlucky. He's a bit of a kind of pound shot Bobby Firmino in terms of does a lot of the hard work, creates a lot of space. I wouldn't recommend him as an FPL asset because he's going to create space for our wide men a lot, I think, and that will be his main job. So, but it's interesting that whether he keeps his place or whether he does go to bring Garnacho in after that display. So, I wouldn't Rashford for one, I think, because he's just the guy who's going to start every game.
There were talks about him not starting, right? And I guess the manager was vindicated when he then did get that goal at the weekend as well. So it does seem that he has played his way in, as you say. I think he should.
Yeah, and he's so cheap. And it's look, I'd be wary about recommending any of our players because we're a glorified cup team basically. We don't seem to play well under the stress of league, particularly away from home. Our away from home record is really poor. Yeah, we just beat Southampton 3-0, but we were a penalty away from probably not picking up points again. We played absolutely terribly for half an hour. Then the game turned on a missed penalty, and we scored 2 goals in quick succession. So, we're just a bit of a vibes pick at the moment, really. But like I say, if you did want to go there, I think Rashford for what was he 6.8 million or something
he's cheap.
Is good because he is explosive. He's involved a lot. Ten Hag plays him every game. So I do think Rashford is the one.
Do you think Bruno's worth more money, or because obviously he's more of an analytics pick, and I think you have him, right?
Yeah, I do have Bruno. I'm not going to. It's not an urgent sell. I don't like him in the style of football that Ten Hag plays. Now, Agate has just come into the team, so that might balance things out a little bit. But currently, Bruno's been asked for too long to sit too deep. And then he was suddenly shunted to a false 9 position, which is not his position as well. He needs to play where he does in Portugal and that kind of roaming 8 to 10 kind of role. So I'd like to see Agate, obviously anchor that midfield with Meno and Bruno, given more license to kind of, play with the shackles off, and hopefully that could bring the best out of him again. So, let's see. I'm not going to, like I said, I'm not going to get rid of him, but this week, obviously, but we've only got this Palace away, and then I'm going to wildcard. So he's going to have to do something pretty special this weekend to not be immediately replaced on my wildcard on, next week. And I don't think our fixtures are that great for the first next couple of games anyway, are they? So
no, I wouldn't think so.
No, but Rashford is for one. Like I say, particularly if he scores again at the weekend, I may downgrade Bruno for Rashford on my wildcard.
I think that would be a nice way to spread out some more funds. Just before we go into the game week 5 projected goals and clean sheet odds that I put on the screen, I was going to speak to Bobby as well about just what his thoughts were on the breaking news about Odegaard and Arsenal and tactically. I know you're part of the Arsenal predictors group for Emma Jump the Wave, who does the predictions, the hive mind stuff. I thought it was pointless looking at the expected points in game week 4 for Arsenal based on the type of game it was, because it's basically Gabriel, Raya and Saka, and that's the expected points of the week. And game week 1 to 3 is kind of redundant with Odegaard out. So things will change. I assume the people who were expected to get the goals for Arsenal in game week 1 to 3 are going to be very different based on what the future looks like. We've obviously not seen what the midfield could look like, because now that Rice isn't suspended, at least he's back. So that's one more player back. Kind of Fury was in training as well. Saka's in training despite the fears. There's obviously the Champions League game tomorrow night as well. But yeah, why don't you, I guess, tell us about what the Odegaard news sounds like firstly, because I hadn't even heard it. You mentioned it as we went live on air, and what your thoughts are in terms of what that means for Arsenal and how they might approach games and assets from Arsenal for that reason, basically.
Yeah, so Arteta obviously done his press conference just before we went live, and he says Odegaard's had a few more scans and it's looking like it's going to be a bit of a lengthy layoff. And then not long after, there was a Team News and Ticks Patreon leak that looks like Odegaard's going to be out until at least November at the soonest. So it looks like a bit of a lengthy layoff. So it doesn't look great, especially with the run of games that we've got coming up before November, with obviously City next, Newcastle and Liverpool in there, as well as 2 Champions League games. So I think we'll probably see Havertz drop back into central midfield with Trossard and Jesus rotating up front. So I can see it possibly killing Havertz as a FPL asset, but possibly makes Trossard and Saka, and hopefully, if he can find his finishing boots again, Martinelli, bit of better prospects going forward.
What do you think about Martinelli?
Do you regret the Vieira sell now? Sorry,
Vieira's injured as well. Yeah,
he's injured.
His hamstring.
I thought you sold him, didn't you?
Oh,
no, we loaned him, and he got injured before his first game.
So yeah, so even if he was still at the club, he's injured anyway. So
fair enough. Yeah,
so it looks like it'll be Nwari will be the rotation option if we do have anyone on right centre mid.
Do you see a midfield? I was going to say, do you see a midfield ever of like one of Timber or Calafiori dropping into that, or do you feel that that's unlikely to be something the manager tries?
Timber, I could see possibly coming in. I think we'll probably depend on how quickly we get Marino back from injury as well. If we need to rotate possibly the Bolton game next week, we might see something like that, just to get some minutes out of legs that really should be focusing on the big games over the next 6 weeks.
Cool. In terms of the attackers, I just want to ask you about Martinelli and what you thought about his performance. There was mixed opinions, as has been the case since his drop in kind of confidence and form over the last season or so. He actually completed 6 take-ons, which is the most of any player in the league so far this season. He didn't quite kind of get the goal. There was a kind of opportunity where he could have passed to Saka, but in the season before last, you would have thought he'd finished that as well. So he's definitely a man lacking confidence. People complain he doesn't look up, etc. when he runs. But I think he actually played very well, and kind of the goal's coming, and that goal will bring the confidence. So that's why I'm latching onto this, because it was interesting that he said he could end up being one of the beneficiaries ultimately of Havertz moving into the midfield and either one of Trossard or Jesus starting up top, because I think Trossard's the most similar stylistically to Jesus, and Martinelli's best for the club was with Jesus as centre forward and having that player to interchange with. So is that someone you kind of are just monitoring for now? Like,
it's someone I really want to get back to his form from 2 seasons ago. when I've been to the stadium, obviously I've been down for the last couple of games. For me, it's his decision making once he gets past that defender. I have no worries that he's going to beat someone for pace or beat them in the take on. But when he has that decision on whether to shoot or pull it back for a player, he just seems to take that half a second too long and just gets closed out. Whereas a lot of the time when he was scoring, it was very much a snap reaction and he was just burying it without thinking of it. So I just hope he gets back to that instinctive, once I'm in that 18-yard box, just do something rather than think too much. And if he does, yeah, he's going to be a fantastic asset in midfield, especially with us not
he's very cheap as well.
Points, yeah.
He's very cheap as an asset as well, obviously in FPL. Yeah, I hope he can become an option. I think for now, Saka's just as much of an option as he ever was. So I haven't, I'm not worried that like the loss of Odegaard means that like you don't want Saka. I still very much want him in Game Week 6, whether that's as a free transfer or wild card. So I think I boldly said, I don't know how bold it is, but I said at the start of the season that I felt he would easily be in those top 3 assets points wise with the likes of Salah and Haaland. And obviously he costs considerably less than both of them. So he's almost for me like a set and forget type of asset. And,
on
yeah,
Saka,
sorry, go on, BJ.
just as both Arsenal fans, are you concerned about burnout? I think this was certainly off the back of the Euros, the season I expected to see him be rotated a little bit more, but then obviously you've let Nelson kind of go out. You're probably lighter in attacking positions than you have been in previous years. So it looks like it's going to be asked to start 50 plus games again. Is that a concern?
It was when I actually read into the new Champions League format and just seeing how intensive it is for the players up until January. But one thing I noticed during the derby on Sunday was when Jesus came on, he was the one that went to that right wing spot and he played the right wing position for the rest of the game. So what I do hope is with Sterling and Jesus obviously coming back to fitness is we'll see Saka's minutes drop or not be played in the competitions where we can rest him. So he probably will start tomorrow, but next week, ideally, he's just not in the squad whatsoever. And Sterling and Jesus become the main attackers next week. So hopefully his minutes will drop off and we don't possibly see him come off 60, 65 minutes instead of playing the full 90s.
Fair enough, yeah.
That would be ideal, right? All it takes is one more injury and then he's there playing every week, every game, like PJ says. So let's hope that's not the case. With that then in mind, 42 minutes. If you're on podcast, we have the graphic from RobTFPL. This is the Game Week 5 projected goals and clean sheet odds updated as of the 18th of September. These obviously change because the markets and the spread markets change as well with news and presses on Friday. The biggest call-outs here are Liverpool are expected to get 2.7 goals. After them, we've got Tottenham with 2.3 goals. Aston Villa with 2.1 goals. We have Brighton with 1.8. Man City 1.75 expected goals against that Arsenal defense is something to talk about for sure. And 1.85 for Chelsea away at West Ham. Beyond that, there isn't much. I think clean sheet wise, we have Liverpool 40%. We have Aston Villa and Brighton 34%, with Man City 34%, and Tottenham 31%. Maybe Porro gets me a clean sheet. But yeah, is there anything just from this that I guess helps you guys with your thinking for any transfers you might make this week, any punts? It'll be disappointing if João Pedro is out because obviously it looks like a great game for Brighton from this data. And then Muniz being first on the bench for him for both me and PJ seems like we need an exit. So where does that take you? Because Vardy and Calvert-Lewin are both on 1.45 and 1.43 expected goals respectively in their matchup. I don't think it's a very high scoring game.
Yeah, I think that looks like the match, doesn't it? I mean, again, I'd rather not make a transfer because I want to keep it. But if I have to, if João Pedro isn't going to make it, he's not even in the squad tonight, is he? I don't know if there's been any comment about him. Obviously, Brighton have heavily rotated anyway. So, we'll see. It looks like one of either Calvert-Lewin, although he missed yesterday with an illness, or Vardy. Not two players I really trust eitherly. You look at that Villa expected goals there. That kind of stands out, I think, at home to Wolves. So I am tempted by Duran. I have to say. The other thing I've not ruled out is playing a 4-4-2 or 4-5-1, rather, I should say, and getting rid of Hall and looking at I've got 0.8 million in the bank. So looking at 5.2 million 5 million defender. So someone like Luca Dini, I assume he's not over 5 million, surely. So
would he be a 1 week punt? I'm guessing because
exactly. So just someone looking at a 1 week punt. So that Villa game is definitely the
clean sheet, assist, goal. Imagine he'd be a hero again.
Yeah, I'd probably look to. None of the other games really stand out. Maybe the Tottenham game, but I couldn't get an attacker for that fixture.
Solanke, I can't afford, so I'm 0.2 short of Mooney's to Solanke because they cheated and withheld the price drops manually, as we know. Which
that was a bit naughty, wasn't it? So, so we'll see. Or I could do a comedic Muniz for Jimenez.
That is something that I did look at, and I just thought, no, I can't do that to myself. I just couldn't do that. Would you consider? I don't think I can afford Mateta, but would you consider Eddie Nketiah home to your boys, Man United?
I don't. Not for a 1 week punt. I don't think. I like it, but I'd rather go Duran.
He likes a goal against Man United.
So, Are you looking at Mateta? You don't need to make a transfer, I suppose, probably, do you?
No, I was planning on rolling. I think the only issue is whether Lewis Hall's actually back in that team or not is something I'll have to watch. I'm hoping with Shaw being back, that's linked, and that's why he was back in the team. But if I was to do anything, it would probably be Pedro to and Nketiah for a 1 week punt, because I do plan on wildcarding as well.
Also, we're all likely to wildcard in 6. I'm now getting to the point where I'm trying to see, can I use 2 transfers in game week 6 or take a hit and maybe wildcard a bit later? But I think that's just wishful thinking, and I should probably just wildcard early for the first time in many years and get to the team I want.
Where is Nketiah playing, just to go back? Because we've started this 2 number 10s behind 9.
So he played behind Mateta on the league game, didn't he, at the weekend? But it was interesting when I was just following along on the game. All of the Palace fans were raving about Nketiah, how he was just head and shoulders above everyone, and obviously it instantly changed the mind on paying 30 million for him, and he did get a goal last night for them, so hopefully it is.
That was a very nice goal I saw. So he's off the marks.
He's always been a proper ex-Lively pick, though, hasn't he? He does.
You remember the hat trick that Prass brought in? My God!
God.
Against Sheffield United. God, that was a big one for him. So hopefully
I've
we're
owned
all
him
trying to roll.
Myself. I like him. I was quite happy to have him in periods, but he's gone through some dry spells as well. So
that is true. I think when you look at the system he's in now, though, I'm hoping he feels like he's found home. He's going to get regular minutes.
It looks like a proper. I don't want to say old school 9, but someone that thrives off being a lone man and just getting that last hit on the ball, rather than the build-up play that Arsenal were playing. So I think the Palace team probably suits him a lot better, to his strengths at least.
No, I think you're right. I think one team which are very low on your projected goals there, who I would consider taking a punt on, is Ipswich, because Southampton are absolutely fucking awful, just so terrible defensively. Although Jack Stevens being suspended might actually be, a positive for them. So, because he'll definitely be out. So you never know. But is it Delap? Delap looked very very good.
But I think there's another guy back competing with him up front. I forgot his name. He subbed on. I think he'd been injured for a while, and he came on this weekend. Let me just check.
I know who you mean. I don't want to risk trying to pronounce it live on YouTube because.
So who was Ipswich, right? So Ipswich forward. Hurst? Oh, you're thinking about the other one there, the Al Hamadi. No, that's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about George.
Actually, I think I'm thinking about Leicester. Who's the Leicester guy, which Sam Martin was raving about at the start of the season, and he scored yesterday. It begins with M.
What, Mavadidi?
Yeah. That's him. Oh, he played for? I thought he played for Leicester, though, not Ipswich.
Yeah, Leicester, exactly. Oh, yeah, okay. No, I think my only concern there is Hurst. He's 5.4. Delap's 5.5. Hutchinson hasn't quite done anything, but I thought he'd do more this season. I expect him to get going at some point as well. But Ipswich is just not for me. We're at the stage where if João Pedro costs the same price as an Ipswich striker and he's playing for Brighton, one of the best attacking teams in the league.
Oh yeah, but it's not long term. It's a 1 week punt, and for one week for a wild card, I want to have fun. So I think I'll probably end up picking someone odd.
Someone random,
just for a bit of banter at the end of the day. So I might be a defender. That Ipswich is it Leif Davis? I might just,
Yeah, he could be
punt,
quite fun.
Punt on him or something, just like that. So, if you can't have fun with a 1 week punt before wildcard, why are you playing this game?
I'm just having a look at our options. There is Danny Welbeck as well. He is an option with those numbers.
Yeah, but I mean, Forest just shut out Liverpool, and their defense is very, very good. So I don't think Brighton are going to win that 3 or 4-0, are they? So
I think I like what you said at the start of the podcast, PJ. If for some reason, although it sounds like Watkins is completely fine based on what the manager said afterwards, I think we maybe all got a bit worried with the ice pack on his legs. But if he wasn't fine, if there was for some reason like a guaranteed information that he was not starting or out of the squad altogether, I would love to go to Duran.
As a previous Ollie Watkins in Mano, I might be able to get that information. So,
well, that's what I was hoping you would tell me, because I remember that you didn't even try to leak info. You just gave an opinion, is what you say. But you tweeted an opinion that went viral and ended up on the front pages of Reddit. And I believe you started getting death threats for leaking incorrect Ollie Watkins news, was it? And like,
it did go. I did receive one death threat.
Okay.
It got taken very out of context, and way too seriously. I didn't realize quite how seriously I think people took kind of team leak information at the time. It was a few years ago, and fair play to those who do it, but I think post deadline it's a safer ground. But obviously the deadline was earlier then and stuff, but pre-deadline team leaks now is massive no go for me, despite
it's just not worth it. Like,
just
even
they didn't do that last season.
Yeah, that's in a private group, and I even clarified it before the deadline that actually he was there and it was bollocks. But you'd left the group at that point. Who
I can't believe you sold Isaac.
Who takes the word of HinduMonkey in a DM group on Twitter like 2 hours before kickoff?
I did used to respect you as a person, and then
it's hard to believe. Yeah, I think you. So in many ways, this is your fault.
Gaslight.
I think the fact that Watkins is a 3 o'clock kickoff, I think we'll get news if he's out entirely. I do think we'll get news. There are enough people in the community who I think are connected enough to that.
And it's a big enough team, in sense, like, no offense to other Premier League teams, but it's a big enough team where like people would care to share leaks because they think it might actually get them engagements and help them grow their accounts. And we know people love the clout. It's like a drug, right? So, if I said, I really need to know if like Muniz starts, I don't know if I can find you someone who gives a shit to share Fulham news, even if they knew it. Like, so that's the reality of the situation.
It is. And Watkins is a big FPL asset, as we know. There's obviously lots of people bringing him in this week. He's not a move for me. I know, people were talking about captaining him and stuff, but he's been taken off at pretty much 60 minutes every game. He obviously returned from a Euros with an injury. He's not 100% fully fit, so he's not someone who I'd be looking.
He's the most transferred in player so far this game week. The transfers have slowed down.
Goals, that's why. But
that is very true. Do you know who's the most sold?
Don't say Muniz.
Alexander Isak. Muniz isn't in the top 5.
Okay, no one cares.
There's too many. The top 5 is made up of 4 flags, 3 yellow and 1 red. So people have bigger problems at the moment than Muniz, which is good for us and our price of our team.
The great thing about Isak was so many people on a wild card were waiting, in Andy Martin's case, begging for him to go down to 8.4 so they could buy him back. And then obviously he didn't drop. So a lot of people, I'd be funny how many people on wildcard maybe ended up keeping him. And then he immediately gets a drop and gets injured. It's just that awful scenario where, you just instantly lost value on somebody who you probably shouldn't have picked anyway. So,
Wait, let me show you this. Talking of people having more than one team and FPL not giving a shit unless they just like happen to come across you. So on their homepage that 10 million managers look at, the 2 most valuable teams, the guy is literally telling you, like, this is my monthly team, this is my half 2 team. I don't know how much more clear Leilu could be about this, but so Leo Chandra, Leilu's monthly team. I imagine they're in a mini league with. They're more clever this year. Normally, they're in a mini league with all 50 of their teams to make it even more obvious. But I think maybe they've been previously banned and they figured this one out. Leilu half 2 team, and yeah, like last year, I'm pretty sure that the bots I was talking about, the top 50, they were all in the they were either in the Malaysia or Indonesia league as well. So maybe FPL just doesn't care if you're from those places.
There was definitely a graphic I saw last year about 50 teams in a row that were identical and were just their iterations of the same team name. And it's like, guys, come on. I wouldn't mind so much if they didn't then make these actual like statements of banning legitimate people who might have created a team with some workmates, like the guys at Attacking Football who I write for, who had their team banned when it was a collective team that they were doing, for charity as part of their podcast, and it got banned. And it was just like, but this isn't, we've been very open about this isn't me doing two teams. This is,
I think that's where I felt quite bad, because I actually asked Paddy about it. I said to him, like, is this your team? Because it was in the FPL Content Creators League, and they put the name as Paddy, and he said, look, like, it's not my team, it's the Odds on FPL group team. We do it for the podcast every year. All three of us make decisions. I think what happened ultimately was, I reckon there's people who are salty or bitter or disliked him. And I think the only reason FPL took action is, I reckon a mass number of people tried to report his team because they could see the team ID. So ultimately, FPL only cared when like a bunch of wankers basically went and reported one guy who wasn't doing it in the way that these other people we just saw on the homepage of FPL are doing. Like the clear and obvious cheaters, they don't get deleted.
Yeah, can I say but clear then, like, and obvious?
Yeah, but the one where like it's like a group team, they're doing it for charity, they've been doing it for years. It's a group of like, there are model teams, there are podcast teams for other massive podcasts in FPL who work with the big publications. They didn't get banned, so it did feel. I think it was very much a personal targeted attack on Paddy. That's why I said I felt bad, because I felt like I obviously asked him about it, and we were in the DMs discussing it, and I did say to him that certain people I'd seen in other group chats were questioning whether he had two teams, and I thought he should know that was happening. And then he I think he lost it understandably after it got deleted and went on a kind of massive crusade about, I've heard there's like content creators trying to get me banned because I'm above them, but I really don't think that's what it was. I think he's probably just pissed off a lot of people over the years, and they just thought, fuck it, he's doing well, let's get him banned.
Yeah, probably.
Probably. But I do feel bad, because you can see right now on the homepage, there's clearly people with multiple teams, and like FPL does fuck all about it. So it's just one rule for some and one rule for others, which is not fair. It's not right. Couple of comments in the chat, just real quick. Carl said, has the Muniz train got out of the depot yet? So I just thought I'd read that one out loud. We got
it hasn't. Has it?
Yeah, it hasn't, right?
Well, couldn't have been more unequivocal about its failure. So I regret it. I can't do another train after this.
Are you like fully done with trains now going forward?
I think so. I mean, I know it was always a bit tongue in cheek, but the failure has been so spectacular. It's kind of like, I could try and rebrand it as something else, I suppose. But
yeah, you could. You could get away from that branding, because it's going to be like a taunt. Like if they see the word train next year for another pre-game one asset, like you're going to get dragged through the mud, I reckon. So you got to be careful with that wording.
It's fine. You put if you put your neck out, then you're going to get burnt. Sometimes it's a game of luck at the end of the day, isn't it? And or skill, which Muniz doesn't have any of, sadly.
So Ned Dipper said Traore train choo-choo based on what we had seen in the graphics. Colm said, I wish you good luck, Ned. Ned said, I don't need luck with biceps like his. And now it's escalated to buying bottles of baby oil. And the lotion comes included. So this conversation is turning very from PG to at least 12A. So
is he talking about Traore or Bobby?
This is the thing. I'm starting to not be sure which way it's going.
Bobby, do you baby?
I know that's quite reflective today, isn't it? So
yeah. So
I love how you've gone for him. I think that's the third time this episode.
That's all of the time. It's every group chat as well.
It's all the subtle digs that you don't realize. I thought just Frank didn't like Bobby. It turns out you have a few haters, Bobby. I thought like everyone loved you.
Yeah, it's the anti-Newcastle vibes in the community, isn't it?
I thought you were Brummy though.
Oh, to someone from Bath. Yeah, maybe.
Cool. What we'll do, guys, I've started a few more questions. We've got a question from Tiggy. We also got a comment from Andy, Martin, and Ned. So I'll read those out before we go. I'm going to check if there's any Discord questions. Just before that, I'm going to thank everyone who supports the channel real quick as well. So we've got all our key holders as they've been rebranded from haulers. So the master key holders, Greenback Golf, Gary Horwood, David Harrison, Colin Bugler, Lean Pedersen, FPL Sparta, Tiggy Taylor, Nehal, Kokani, and Roberto Mangun Song. Good to see you, buddy. So I actually met him when he came over for the London Marathon last April. He's coming back again. So thank you for supporting the channel, buddy. It was lovely to meet you. Our key holders, Podner, Kevin Rose, Blonde, FPL Teacher, Tom Gorsuch, Lindsay, Dom, Claire, Tursks, Catherine A, Harry Not Kane, Benjamin Lockwood, FPL Discomfort, Grady, Jaskrin Singh, FPL Eric, BW Splitter, and the FPL Juice Show. But last but not least, our Patreons, Elron, FPL California, Mike Burke, Dropped Alchemy, and Dr. Green Farm. Thank you guys all so much for all the support that you give. Yeah, like we're 1 hour in.
What the hell is a key holder? Are we in Ghostbusters?
So I should explain, shouldn't I? So we're 1 hour in. It's the first time I'm saying that if you did enjoy the episode, if we've made you laugh, if you've laughed at our ranks, whatever it might be, if you've learned anything, if you've just enjoyed looking at their pretty faces, please do hit that like button. Obviously, subscribe if you're new to the channel. But key holders, PJ, you ask. So key holders are the YouTube members who support the channel with like a little small monthly fee. It's not a fee to make an appearance like the one that is famous in the community from a few years ago, but there is a
pay for a shout out.
Yeah, basically no. So I give them the shout out as a thank you for their support. There's obviously the Patreons and the YouTube members. There is a Discord member access. Tiggy, I don't think you've joined the Discord despite supporting. So thank you for your support. If anyone does want to join the Discord and doesn't know how and is a member, reach out to me. You just need to connect your Google account, which you've become a member on, to your Discord account, and it automatically drops you in the server. We're going to do some audio chats and spaces in there with the members to thank you as always. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's a key holder or master key holder. And really appreciate your support. So I've put the graphic back up for Gameweek 5. We'll use this to help us with any questions. We're going to answer any comments, guys. And then we'll probably look to wrap up in the next few minutes, get you guys out of here. Try to catch some Champions League games for anyone in the chat. So let's see the comments that I have. It's Andy Martin. So earlier when you were laughing about him, he had a comeback that I didn't get a chance to bring up, PJ. So I thought I'd just let him say his piece now. He says, I only don't own Haaland because of his 3 points combined for game week 5 and 6. What are your thoughts, guys? I guess, first PJ and then Bobby. I want to know, what do you guys think about that? Do you think that's accurate?
Well, it's just nonsense, isn't it? I mean, Andy's been saying this from game week 1, good luck paying 15 million for 1 goal. Good luck paying 15.1 million for 2 goals. Good luck paying 15.3 million for 3 goals if you use this triple captain. So now he obviously thinks that Haaland can't score against Arsenal and Newcastle, who have probably been the luckiest team in the Premier League so far this year. So look, that might continue, but look, I admire him, but then at the same breath, I saw him obviously writing tweets the other day that he's going to bring Haaland in now.
But that was game week 7, right? I think.
Yeah, for game week 7 for Wissa, who's obviously naturally the Haaland is the natural replacement for a 6 million player. So, but I know he's got 85 transfers stored up, so which is
and a wild card, right?
No, he's not. He's used his wild card.
Oh, right. It was the whole plan was to attack the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, the whole thing was to attack the game week. So, yeah. There are a lot of people I know who are planning to wildcard week 6 and not pick Haaland, I have to say. So I certainly don't think, there is certainly, it's not Andy's not alone in the mentality that Haaland, once the Champions League kicks in and that he traditionally starts the season extremely strong, which he does. And obviously his output isn't sustainable. He's not going to score 80 goals. But,
he's on 9 goals, right?
But he might score. Wow. I think he could easily score 50. So, and I think it's just a captaincy. If there was no captaincy in FPL, no one would own Haaland. But because you can captain him, and he's got an almost essentially then 20-point floor at the moment as captain. It's like, I don't know. How do you guys see the? It was 0-0.
So will you guys captain him? Yeah. So will you guys?
Arsenal. I won't captain him this week because I got Salah at home to Bournemouth. I think it'd be interesting what people are doing who don't have Salah. But obviously, I moved for Salah last week. But
so Haaland's 2 games against Arsenal last season, he got XG of 0.00 across both games.
He didn't get a shot off, right?
Yeah, he got Saliba. So I'm with Andy for this coming weekend, but the weekend after, I think he smashes Newcastle. To be fair, they have scraped through some games, so I think he gets back to scoring wins next weekend.
So are you expecting another 0-0 out of the Emirates, or?
It's at the Etihad, so
sorry.
No, unfortunately I think we'll lose. I think probably a bit too light up top, and have to play Party and Jorginho again. So I think the City are quite a bit better than Tottenham and probably take advantage of the legs that they don't have in midfield.
Rodri's back, Foden's back. It's all falling into place at the right time for Man City. Let's see how they play tonight. But it's not great. Now, is this quote from Pep Guardiola real, Bobby, or is it just, how sometimes people just put bullshit quotes and it's fake on Twitter? You can't believe everything, as you found out the hard way with PJ's Isaac news last year. But so Pep Guardiola, apparently this is what he said. He said, the question isn't can we beat Arsenal, it's can we score?
I haven't watched his press conference.
That doesn't sound real to me, does it? But if it is, then he is fully on the mind games vibes before his own Champions League game tonight. Yeah. He's already addressing the next game.
You might not have seen it the same way as me, but I thought the first 2 games of the season, we were very lucky to keep clean sheets in, and think David Raya kind of saved her against
he certainly won the Villa game. Yeah,
I think he was man of the match, right?
Yeah, and the Wolves game as well. I can't remember who the shot was from.
I think David Raya's gone another level up. He's obviously played for Spain as well in the international break. I think he's making a case that he's probably, maybe it's a stretch, but I'd say he's been one of the best goalkeepers in the world over the last 6 months or in 2024.
And from an FPL perspective, a genuine option. Obviously, lots of people are starting the season with him to cover Arsenal. I've had Gabriel, so I've not missed out on those points. But in terms of wildcard next week, do we go David Raya?
Yeah, that'll be the thing, is especially with Odegaard being out now, I don't think the 2 Arsenal attackings as enticing. So yeah, David Raya plus one of the centre backs is probably.
You think Gabriel's still safe? Obviously, he's such a goal threat, but
So they're talking to him about a contract extension as well, right? And they want to reward him for his early good form, and we don't really quite know what happened at the start of last year, right?
Yeah, well, was Timber not bought? Obviously, Timber played those games, didn't he?
Well,
Tommy Asso did actually, didn't he?
Yeah, Timber was bought to play right back, yeah.
And Partey played right back though, right? So Partey played this inverted right back, and
that was it. Yeah,
it was all a bit crazy, and then just Timber got injured straight away. Obviously, ACL out from first game, and that was that. I didn't think Timber would be playing left back, and I thought that Calafiori was going to start the North London derby before the knock. I
think if it came too soon for him, especially with how obviously late and how dragged out the transfer ended up being. But no, I think he probably becomes the starting left back, but I don't see him starting until maybe after the next international break.
For Calafiori, right?
Yeah, for Calafiori. It'd be interesting if he does play a left centre back at any point, but I haven't seen anything that would worry me that Gabriel.
So that's the worry, right? What if Timber plays left back? What if Calafiori plays left centre back? And then that means actually some games you don't get Gabriel starting in your FPL team because he's playing Champions League instead, or that's the kind of thing that concerns me with the extra fixtures, right? So I think I would still go for Gabriel purely for the goal threat side of things. I don't think there's a defender in world football since 2020 that has close to his numbers goals wise or underlying goals wise. It's just actually terrifying. There's something about him. He is elite in both boxes.
Well, you score so many goals from set pieces as well, just generally, not just him. You create so many chances from set pieces, from corners. It's a role for I fucking hate short corners, one of my bugbear. And it's just something so refreshing about Saka or Declan Rice before he got injured. No, he got suspended, sorry, not injured. Just whipping in balls stuck in the 6-yard box for centre backs to head in. It's just paid off for you kind of so many times. So yeah, I want to continue owning kind of Gabriel. So like I say, Saliba just doesn't. He might get the odd goal, but every corner seems to look for Gabriel. He's a guy they're trying to get on the head. So yeah,
it's Gabriel or Havertz that seem to be the two that get on them every time.
yeah, Havertz often in there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so on that note, I was big on the double Arsenal attack all this time, but I do think now with this Odegaard news and Marino's out, like I'm starting to wonder, actually, do I just need a better goalkeeper than this fucking Henderson? And should I just cough up a bit more money and just go for the double defense? Because right now, this team is like, honestly, like I don't see many games where they concede. Like,
no, and if you're wildcarding week 7, you've got Leicester and Southampton at home. I mean, the worry is that you might see a rotation there, but the keeper isn't going to get rotated.
At least the keeper's safe, anyway.
Yeah. And you think 2 back-to-back clean sheets in that, another point to, rise. So yeah, I think that's probably where I'll go, but I'll have to play around with it. Sanchez is possibly another one if he looks like he's kept his place at Chelsea. They've got Brighton.
He's very cheap.
Forest. Yeah. He's cheap. I think. You have a cheaper one.
Chelsea don't look too good at keeping a clean sheet, though.
No, they don't. I think it was Lucky more and Sales maybe, who I don't rate, and I was surprised to see Forest, start the season with him in goal. But again, they're posting fantastic numbers, and I think a Forest defender of some ilk or keeper might potentially be in my wildcard thoughts as well.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I've just added something here. So I've timestamped this as the Haaland conversation and Arsenal assets for Wildcard 6 because it ended up being basically replying to HinduMonkey and then 10 minutes of really useful insights. So I thought I might as well timestamp it for people. On that note, so there is now an actual question as well. But before that, Ned Dipper says, HinduMonkey is not a real monkey. Disappointed. That aside, I like the show. So thank you, Ned, for tuning in. It's the first time I've seen you chatting live, so welcome. Pleasure to have you today. And then Tiggy's question before we get out here as well. So view on using 4 free transfers in game week 6 or wildcard. My defense and bench is shite.
If that many changes, just wildcard, especially with the fixture swing.
And just roll the transfers, right?
Yeah.
And through the wildcard. I agree.
Yeah, such a pleasing change from FPL this season. The ability to roll those transfers through the wildcard. For me, wildcarding and keeping 4 transfers is a more powerful play. I have not seen that person's team, but the fixture swings are just too big. Unless you've already got.
I've seen their defense yesterday, so I would say wildcard.
Yeah. Just get rid of it and keep the transfers. It's great. I wish I had 4 transfers going into a wildcard.
Yeah, you can essentially make a mini wildcard afterwards as well for a -4 with 6 transfers at 1 point. So I'd just wildcard and roll them through.
Yeah, I would just roll it through. We have this question as well from Ned before we get out of here. I just want to know your thoughts, guys. They say keepers always finish very close on points or quite close in points. Will Raya change that trend enough this season? So I think historically, I've always felt like I don't buy premium goalkeepers, for 1 million more, 1.5 million more, like maybe you get 20, 30 points more.
So,
yeah,
I think for his price, I think he's a fantastic asset. He's obviously getting the clean sheets, but he's also getting save points still as well. I like the stats with the Arsenal players, Nima. Ria's save percentage so far this season is 93.3%.
Wow.
So even when he is facing shots, he's stopping them going in. Obviously, he's pulled off 2 fantastic saves as well. So I think if you were looking at a defensive asset in Arsenal and didn't want to risk the Gabriel rotation, just go Ria. He's the safest bet.
I think the other thing is the change in the BPS system, which is rewarding keepers more if they're keeping clean sheets along with defenders. So previously, cheaper keepers, 4.5 keepers, would make up for their lack of clean sheets with save points. That doesn't appear to be the case anymore. So I think that makes more of a case to pick the keeper who you think is going to get the most clean sheets, as long as that person isn't Edison. So I think, Raya or indeed even Allison, I presume he's only 5.5 as well. I think, kind of it comes into play more. It's 1 million more. I think 1 million more than, Henderson or Flecken. He has to score 15% more points for that to be viable. I think he does, to be honest. So, yeah.
Yep. No, I've also seen something. Hello to Lewis Bonilla. Good to see you. They actually won the FPL Juice Creators Fund. So they've got half of the Juice membership money for the month to help them with content on their YouTube. I heard some good stuff as well, Lewis, from from Alpha FPL about you. So thank you for supporting. And yeah, anyone who doesn't know Alpha FPL as well is going around doing street interviews with strangers. Do definitely check him out. Tiggy, oh my God, thank you for gifting the membership. It has actually ended up with me. So this has happened once before. Oh God, so embarrassing. I will also gift the membership in next week's episode to repay the goodwill because yeah, it shouldn't end up with me. But I guess at least now I can use the emoji of my face, which I'm going to spam in the chat because I actually couldn't use it before. So at least there's that. So thank you so much, Tiggy. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to have you boys here. I don't know if there's any final thoughts you have. Otherwise, obviously, people can find you on X with the links in the video description. So we've got at HinduMonkey and at BobbyLove FPL. Is there anything, I guess, you guys want to add? Just any final thoughts about going into Game Week 5 or any tips?
I wanted to, I did want to ask Bobby if when he drives, he has to put boxes on his feet to reach for pedals.
Good news is I don't drive, so you don't have to worry about.
Okay. Oh yeah, sorry, you're from
any of that,
Newcastle, aren't you? Yeah.
We've got good public transport, so
You do. To be fair, the Newcastle tram, yeah, it's fantastic. It goes all the way out to, you know, what's the little seaside village near you?
Whitley Bay.
Not Whitley Bay, the nice one.
Tynemouth.
Yeah, one of my favourite places in the world. Tynemouth. I fucking love that place.
I haven't been up north for a while. I think I owe Bobby a visit, but I know that if I go past Sheffield without picking you up on the way, PJ, you won't forgive me.
Let's do it, Nima. We'll take you to the Irish bar we went to last time, and you can.
We have a whole Persian food court for you now, Nima.
Oh, amazing! Yeah, we're ready. Bobby, I hope you're ready for that. I owe PJ a meal when he next meets me. So whether that's in Newcastle, Sheffield, London, wherever it may end up being, I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, pleasure to have you guys here. I will be back next Wednesday, as always. I'm just going to confirm the guest before then. It is actually meant to be Brad FPL Mayer, if he can still make it. But yeah, it's been great, guys. Go enjoy the Champions League. Hopefully, Haaland doesn't do too much more damage. It's starting to get scary. I believe he's 1 goal away from getting to 100 goals faster than Cristiano Ronaldo for a club. And that will be like the record that any player holds. I think it's like 105 games or something for 100 goals for Cristiano. And that's like the world record for first to 100 goals for one club. Terrifying to think that that's the case already. So yeah, that is, how do you compete with that in the Premier League? I don't know. So thank you, boys. Yeah, exactly. Take care, guys. I will see you guys in the chat. I'm going to start sending you both loads of spam trades that are like Tony and FPL Peter team. There's just, I need to get in on the action because I don't know what Bobby has done, but when you see afterwards, PJ, you're going to be disgusted. That it's just as bad as his original trade, and now he's done another one with Sean, I think. So
fucking hell, Bobby, you don't know what you're doing, do you?
Well, we'll see again after Sunday after I beat you in the head-to-head.
Yeah, I'm not
going to update the viewers.
I'm not even breaking a sweat. Not even a flicker of fear of it. I might lose to you, to be honest. Yeah. But yeah, best of luck. A pleasure to be on here, Nima, eventually.
Thank you. You made it, and I'm sure we'll be back. Hopefully, you'll bring me back to FPL Unscripted Twitter Spaces one day as well. I promise I won't be so flying high next time. So
I had to cancel it tonight. You were going to because we didn't have another people. I forgot you used to. I was trying to think. Who was the person who used to help us out occasionally? Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the occasional add-on, right? But it was obviously you, Sam, Tom, like they were like the main hosts.
Yeah, we're gonna kick it back off again next week. We've been a bit out of touch. We've all been on holiday or jury service, bizarrely. But yeah, we'll be back next week on Spaces. Yeah.
So for anyone who doesn't know, obviously do follow the links in the description. But yeah, so PJ will be doing FPL Unscripted. I guess weekly, but maybe ad hoc. It depends, I suppose, on schedules. But yeah, it's a lovely place to go. And you can actually obviously request to speak, ask your questions directly, almost like a radio call-in show. So if you've never been on a Twitter Spaces, I highly recommend it. And these guys are great hosts. And it's obviously done with also Tom from Who Got the Assist as well as your co-host. So it's great fun. Thank you, Bobby. Hopefully the Arsenal make us proud because you're actually going to be joining me on the Arsenal Bite Size podcast on Sunday, hopefully, to review the Man City game straight after. So I just hope it's not too raw and painful, that conversation.
Yeah, hopefully not be as depressing as being on a pod with PJ, but we'll see. We'll pray.
You finally got your dagger back on the way out the door. I
There
love
you
it.
go. Worth it. Killer blow as I leave. Right.
Killer blow. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Good luck in game week 5, and may your arrows be green. We were Locked in FPL. See you next week.